What up, guys? Fucking do it. So, on my screen, you see the tournament rules, and that's what we're talking about today. We're talking about rules, and we're specifically talking about a rule increase. The fines were previously $25 for whatever you did, and then more times you got fined, it went up and up and up. The vast majority of the fines were for skins. Basically, in the Smite Pro League, you can't play with skins. If you play with a skin, you get fined. Um, that's just a rule. I don't think it's a bad rule. Just don't play with skins. Remember not to. And a $25 fine, it was appropriate. Now here's the thing. The amount of money that hi-rez is paying out went up a lot. It's now $20,000 for the 8th place team in each region. That's a lot of money. And it seems reasonable that the fines should go up too. So, I think, like, if you're like, dude, $500 for a skin, that's fucking bullshit. Stop it. Stop it. It's fine. Like, because the thing is, it's a serious rule. It's a rule about uniformity. It's black and white, just fucking follow it. If you don't like the rule, man, like, talk to APC. Like, email him and be like, hey man, I really wish I could use, like, my team skin, or I wish I could use this skin. It's not like, when I stream Smite, I always play ranked, and I only play Dreadbeard Poseidon, so, like, if I could play them in the SPL, that would be really awesome for my fans. And I don't know if he'd say yes, but, like, if you have a good, intelligent reason for what you think, and you reach out to hi-rez, they're probably going to think about it or discuss it with you. I assume they would. They're really nice guys. I've met them. That's not what this is about. What this is about it's about the rule that was emailed out yesterday. So in an email yesterday, team captains got something that says increase penalties and fines from week 5 on. Moving forward, there will be a minimum $500 fine for all infractions. This includes, but is not limited to, and this is where the legal wording starts. Includes, but is not limited to means that they could fine you for basically fucking anything. And you might be saying that's a problem, but hold on. Includes, but is not limited to using unapproved skins, using profanity during an interview, sending non-approved persons to the interview, not submitting required documentation. If you agree with any of those, go home. Like, or if you disagree with any of those, go home. Because, like, that's fair. You know, you might think the fine is a lot, but, like, they're paying out $20,000. It seems fine. Just don't fucking do it. You know, and I'm sure, like, if you do it once, or, like, you're late on required documentation, you'll get an email from Dan that's like, hey, do this or we have to fine you. I don't know, but sounds like something that Dan would do. He's a nice guy. Now here's the ones that people are mad about. Acting in a non-professional manner on any social media platform, talking negatively about hi-rez or the Smite Pro League scene, not adhering to an administrator. So basically, don't fuck with the admins, which is fair. Totally is. Like, if an admin tells you to do something, you fucking do it. Duh. He can DQ your ass. But most importantly, I think it's the talking negatively about hi-rez or the Smite Pro League publicly, and the acting in a non-professional manner on any social media platform. And people are mad about this, and they shouldn't be. First of all, because this was already a rule, and I have it up on the page. It's right there. So let's read this really close, and I want to make sure that you can get all of this. So, high standards are expected from every player competing at all times. Each player must follow the Smite terms of service that he or she agreed upon signing for an account, including Item 12, Online Rules of Conduct. Failure to abide by the Smite terms of service may result in punitive measures, including but not limited to disqualification, suspension from future events, and or termination of your account. Each player must also display well-mannered behavior throughout the entire duration of the Smite Pro League. This includes before, after, and during splits. Good behavior is expected in all public areas of interaction, which include but are not limited to Twitch, Twitter, Facebook, and the Smite in-game client. You may also refer to sections 4.6a, 3, and c for additional rules on player behavior. Poor or negative behavior towards hi-rez staff, sponsors, or other players will not be acceptable, and punitive measures may be assessed. The punitive measures mentioned above for this, including but not limited to disqualification, suspension from future events, and or termination of your account. So this rule was already a thing. They just publicly said that they can fine you for it, but they've already said that they can disqualify you, suspend you from future events, or terminate your account. That was in the rules. This is not new. However, to my knowledge, no one has been suspended, disqualified, or taken any punitive measures against for anything that they have not said in the game client. hi-rez got banned. It's because he was shit-talking people in the Smite game client. And that's fair. But here's the thing. This is fine. Like, this isn't bad. It's not censorship. So let's talk about freedom of speech, because I think that's the shitter argument, right? And I want to get that out of the way. It's something like, but I have free speech. This is America. I should be able to say whatever I want. And like, first of all, no. No. You shouldn't be able to be racist on Twitter. hi-rez should be able to disqualify you for that and fine you for that and whatever. And like, that's something that they should have a rule that covers. Now, it might be a little too specific to say, don't be racist on Twitter, because then someone could be homophobic on Twitter. And then you'd have a rule that says, don't be racist or homophobic on Twitter, and then they're gonna be xenophobic or some shit and be like, oh, fucking Mexicans like borders, blah, blah, blah. Like, don't do that on Twitter. You represent the Smite Pro League, don't do it. And as Adam Mills in chat says, the people don't have jobs are kicking up a fuss. Like, yeah, this is a thing. If you work for Walmart, you can't go on Twitter if people actually follow you. If you have 2 followers, no one cares. But if you have like thousands of followers, like 3,000, 2,000 followers, people like you, and it says Walmart employee, you probably can't go on Twitter and be like, Walmart's fucking bullshit. Because Walmart doesn't want you to say that, man. Like, you're just being a douchebag. You're biting the hand that feeds you, I guess. I hate that phrase, but you are. Stop it. Stop it. Don't do that. Think about what you're saying. And back to the freedom of speech thing, like, man, who is it? It was Idris who said something like this. The rights of the Constitution are sacred and self-evident. They're sacred, which means don't fucking use them like that. Don't be a douchebag. Don't be like, oh, I have free speech, so I can be racist. Like, no, you can't. That's still shitty. You're still shitty. Stop it. Don't do that. That's not what this is about. What this is about is it's about acting in a non-professional way. And this exists. Like, it exists in most jobs where you can't, like if you go on Twitter and you're racist as shit, Walmart will probably fire you if they find out. If you're if this actually happens, and it was linked in the Reddit thread, in the Smite Reddit, an article that like some football player went on Twitter to his massive number of followers because he's a football player, and that platform was essentially given to him by the SPL, or the SPL, the NFL. The NFL was like, hey, you're a football player, we're gonna help promote you, here's your Twitter. And then people followed him because of it, and he used that platform and it was like, I don't know, he said something controversial about 9/11 that, like, I don't think was even that bad. And they're like, you're in serious shit and now you're going to court. That's a thing. Is it scary? Yeah. Why is it scary? You gotta think about what you're saying. Now, what about esports? Well, it's in the League of Legends contract too. It's phrased a little differently, but basically it says, find it, here we go. Be nice. I agree that I will not make, publish, or communicate to any person or entity in any online or other public forum any defamatory or disparaging remarks, comments, or statements concerning the tournaments, the Riot Parties, the game, or any other software products or services of the Riot Parties or employees, offices, directors, agents, officials, investors, and sponsors thereof. So basically, that's just like, don't shit talk us. We're Riot, and we pay your bills. And that's fair. They probably elsewhere in their clause have something that says don't be racist or don't call Medios a shitter. Like, because you probably shouldn't do that. But it's like, it's literally just be professional. Don't be a douchebag. And here's the thing. There's this other argument that's popping up that's like, oh, what about the casters? They're not held to the same standard. Shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. You are so fucking... Dude, like... Yes, they are. I think, like, fucking... F. on a cast is like, this guy's garbage, and I hate him. He's gonna walk into office and Stu's gonna be like, yo, what the fuck were you doing? Like, yeah. Yeah. They are held to the same standard. They're probably held to a higher standard. They work for the company. But, of course that's not public. Like, and I would wager that a lot of the things that, you know, in commentator meetings, the commentators are like, hey man, you did this wrong, or stuff you didn't even notice because you're not a commentator, right? Like, oh, you, like, had a really bad throw, and, you know, a lot of people don't even know what that means. Like, that's the point. But it's basically just like, don't shit talk your employer. The commentators don't do that. Is it? And then there's, like, don't be a douchebag. And you could argue that the commentators do that, but, like, don't nitpick. It's don't be mean. I don't think any of the commentators are really that mean. The edge case is obviously DM Brandon, and like, I'm sure when he has stepped out of line, he has been talked to, and most of the time he is in line. Pretty straightforward. Yeah, Drew does scream in the background. Now, yeah, BM Badger in chat saying, I don't disagree with the ruling, but I hate the fact that people compare it to real life jobs. Players are not considered employees. Yes, that's true. You're not employees. You're players, and it's fucking weird. A lot of people are like, oh, why does paying take so long? It's like, because it's prizing, and prizing is fucking confusing. Like, God, it sucks when it comes to taxes and paying out, like, blah, 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 blah. So, yeah, they're not employees, they're players, and that makes it a bit more complicated, but that's why it's a fine, right? Like, that's why it's not like, oh, we'll fire you or suspend you. Like, it's a fine first. That makes sense. Um, what's the average of salary of an SPL player? I mean, I'm not gonna really like go into like the sort of money that SPL players are making from streaming or sponsorships, but like the Pro League pays out $20,000 to the 8th place team this season. That's split 5 ways. So that's $4,000, and then it's taxed and like other shit. But that's a lot of money. It's a big fine, but sure, that's fine. SPL players on minimum wage, it depends on how you look at it. Like, if you're looking at it based on total time spent, like, yeah, probably, because of scrimming and practice and playing and blah, 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 blah. But, like, I don't think that's the issue. Do casters, like, get fines? Dude, that doesn't matter. Like, no, it's... If a commentator steps out of line, like, they're gonna get in trouble. And if a player steps out of line, they're gonna get in trouble. And if they have to get fined, they'll get fined, and that's sort of the thing. But here's the other thing. Here's the other thing, is that, like, well, what if this censors negative feedback? What if, like, I'm a player and I think hi-rez is doing something wrong? Maybe maybe I think they're making a horrible balance mistake when they introduce Bluestone Pendant. Dude, send an email to Drybear. Send an email to Adonis. Send an email to Scott. Reach out. Because you could probably do that. And you could probably send a mannered, intelligent, thought out, extensive email saying your point, and they would probably fucking love that. Or what if you're like, well, I'm a pro player, and I think F. Dot said something on a cast he shouldn't have. And I'm using F. Dot because he's my friend, and I think he's probably listening. Like, send him an email. Once again, mannered, thought out, intelligent, heartfelt, explaining like, hey man, when you said this, it made me feel really uncomfortable. I feel like you're negatively characterizing me, that you're creating cognitive bias against me, and it's not really fair. Or send that to Bart or APC or whoever, and like, you'll probably start a conversation. But posting on Twitter, they're like, oh, F. Dot's a fucking idiot. Like, what does that do? It doesn't do anything constructive. He's not going to listen to you. No one from hi-rez is going to listen to. It's gonna make hi-rez not want to listen to you ever about anything because you're just being a douchebag, and it's just gonna rile people up. It doesn't actually accomplish anything. It's just stupid. So we can't say for sure if hi-rez has listened to broke criticisms in pilot unless they specifically say they have, which they don't. But it's public community on hi-rez account. They do. Like, I don't know if I can say this, but I'm gonna say this. Like, dude, hi-rez reached out to me between season 1 and season 2, and I had long talks with like a few people that was like, hey, what do you think would be good here and here and here? And like, there were a lot of people who probably were also reached out to, and I had a lot of ideas, and they used some of them, they didn't use others of them. They're like, hey, what do you think of Brawler's Beat Stick? And I'm like, I think it's actually in a good place because while the passive is kind of awkward, it's still a really good item. I mean, it's got pen and power and word. I don't know if that actually happened. Yeah, I don't remember that example specifically, but like, yeah, dude, hi-rez reaches out to people and they get their feedback, and it's really good. So, yeah, you can reach out. All right, let's see Shadow Q's view in chat. Shoutouts to Fuzzy Peach Man. Basically, what happens is people kept breaking rules without caring about the fine whatsoever. People kept choosing skins, late filling out forms, sent the wrong people to interviews, etc. It seems like hi-rez had enough of it and just increased the fine to stop shenanigans. People have acted in a more professional manner. In my opinion, it's not only completely fair, but a necessary step towards making their esports polished as possible. Dude, I fucking love Shadow Q. He's so smart. Like, we don't agree all the time, but he is a smart guy. On the topic of not being able to criticize hi-rez, there was a meeting in the meeting split to discuss what talking negatively about hi-rez means. Pros are allowed to say things like matchmaking isn't great and can be improved. I dislike the decision from hi-rez to nerf Khepri, and casters are wrong. Ares is actually banned because he counters Circuit. Like, those are things that people can say. I think matchmaking is something that both pro players and hi-rez could handle better, because a lot of times, like, people will like link a Smite Guru, and I'm like, this game is balanced. Nobody on your team fed. Yeah, you had a guy from Plat 3, and he went 6 and 4. That's fine. But, you know, like, sure, that could probably be handled better. Things you shouldn't be allowed to say. hi-rez is the cheapest matchmaking. Fuck you, hi-rez. Hi-rez are actually stupid for nerfing Khepri. I need a translator for casters because they only spew nonsense. Yeah, you shouldn't fucking say that. And now there's a $500 fine that says you shouldn't say that. And here's the thing. Every time I open my mouth, on Twitter, on Reddit, yesterday I did an AMA where I answered fucking 300 plus questions. And then I did a talk show for an hour and a half where we talked about controversial shit. Every time I open my mouth, I'm thinking, how does this represent me? How does this represent my brand? How does this represent my team? How does this represent the Pro League? If you weren't thinking that, you need to start. And now there's a $500 fine that says, hey, you need to start. And that's fine. But it's not that hi-rez don't want your opinion. It's just, if you don't have anything good to say, don't say it. And they will fine you. And they should. Because you shouldn't be doing that. No, it's not good for anyone. You're just a douchebag. Like, stop it. I don't know. Like, the community doesn't have to know that hi-rez is taking professional feedback. Like, I, I don't know. I just don't think that's really important. Like, yeah, they are. They totally are. And for the most part, hi-rez makes good changes. Like, yeah, Gauntlet of Thebes sucked, and they removed it within a day. And yeah, Bluestone is kind of weird right now, but like, hi-rez is designing a good game. There are gods that are OP and they get nerfed, and there are gods that are underpowered and they get buffed, and like, it's mostly fine. And if you don't think it's fine, once again, like, get all your opinions, put them together, write an intelligent, thought out, extensive essay saying your opinion. Be respectful and smart. Ask if you can email it to Scott or Drybear or, well, Drybear is on Paladins now. Scott or Fishman or whoever the fuck designs gods, I don't know, or Bart or Adam. Like, reach out and be like, hey man, I wrote up all this. I know for a fact that like proxy damage did that. Who the fuck is he? He writes for Smite Central, like, but he did that. He wrote up a bunch of his feedback and sent it to hi-rez, and they read it, and that's fucking awesome. What they're not gonna listen to, and they shouldn't, for the most part, is someone on the Smite Reddit like, dude, fucking Guan Yu is so broken, like, I hate this god. Like, no. But if you're able to, like, say what you actually mean, intelligently, and post his feedback. Maybe it's an open letter on the Reddit. Maybe you put it on Twitter and a twit longer, and like tag Adam or Scott. Like, dude, I'm sure hi-rez would love that. Maybe you're masturbating completely wrong, but I personally don't care if people are douchebags and toxic. I just care about seeing the highest level smite possible. Then this is only a good thing for you. I mean, if you don't care about people being douchebags and toxic, then like it doesn't matter if they stop being that, and you'll just keep getting smite. Sweet. What if people are intelligent? Talk to someone who is like, be like, hey man, can you help me write this? And there are people in the community who probably will. Uh, what would happen if you say what you want to say and the words fall out? What would happen if anyone did that? Like, dude, I don't know. That's why people get drunk and say stupid shit. That's what drunk texting is. Not good. There will be borderline gray areas where someone sees it as offensive towards hi-rez while others don't, hence the rules need to be defined so it's not open to interpretation. Then reach out and be like, hey, can I say this? Like, there's no problem here. In my understanding, there's no problem here that is not solved by writing an email to APC and being like, hey, what do you think of this? Do you think having a Swagny skin because you played him in ranked is really dope skin, but you forgot to turn off should be put on the same level as unprofessionalism? I mean, no, right? I think unprofessionalism should be a bigger fine, but at the same time, like skins have been a big problem. There have been a lot of fines, and people need to remember that. And like honestly, dude, I think like a team has done this, where you make the game, you get in, you go, oh shit, I picked Swagny instead of Agni. And then, like, I'm pretty sure they went into the team speak where, like, games are coordinated and they're like, Dan, we're lagging. We need to remake. And then they remade without the Swagny skin. Like, I'm pretty sure that has happened. And you don't get fined for that because the game that is played is without all the skins. I just, yeah, unprofessionalism should be a bigger fine than a skin. And yeah, $500 for a skin is a lot, but like, dude, stop it. Just stop using skins. It's all about transparency. Same reason I would like a we ban X amount of people this month for BM. Yeah, I mean that's your opinion, and you're totally entitled to that. I see where you're coming from, Fruitiab. Uh, I think, and this is literally my answer for like everything in this conversation. If you're like if you really firmly believe that hi-rez should be more transparent about the way that they handle balance changes, write an essay, email it to someone. Seriously. Just like see if reach out. Why are pros allowed to use skins in the first place again? It's just like I think the idea is basically Smite has this hook of being mythical gods. So like you look at Poseidon, you're like, oh, that's Poseidon. You look at Dreadbeard Poseidon, you're like, who is this pirate? Why does he have a shark? It's just a thing. Which team skins can definitely be used during the SPL. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and that's the other thing. It's like when you're getting into a snail game, yeah, you have a lot of things on your mind, and like, sure, one of the last things you're thinking about is what skin you're using. But I'm sure someone on your team's gonna be like, hey, no skins. And you go like, oh shit. Hell, I know that like as a coach, I spectate every SPL game. And if I see someone uses a skin, I'm probably be like, hey, no skins, don't forget. I'll send a whisper if they're on the other team. If I see Shing using like Diamond Kabrakan, I'm like, hey Shing, don't forget. Don't use Diamond Kabrakan. It also has to do with like audio changes, which is totally. Hebro is that's something that like, dude, I remember Lobster like was like, dude, Hebrew should totally be allowed, and I'm pretty sure he like wrote an email to hi-rez and they're like, yeah, he's allowed or something like I think that happened. I could be wrong. So a move away from transparency, dude, that's totally fair. That's totally fair. Like that's yeah, totally. You're right. It kind of is a move away from transparency. At the same time, a lot of the stuff that was happening was just inciting anger, and like nobody fucking needs that shit. All right, guys. Any last questions before we wrap this up? I'm rambling a little bit too much, but basically, I feel like this doesn't change anything. It's just saying, yo, it doesn't change anything because there's already a rule. A lot of people might not have realized that, but there was already a rule, and it was actually harsher. It said, yeah, we can disqualify you, suspend you from events, terminate your account if you do this. Now it just says we can fine you as well. And that's not a big deal. $500 fine for being unprofessional. It's like, don't be racist. Don't be sexist. Don't tweet super controversial stuff and use your Smite platform to, like, argue fucking whatever, you know? But at the same time, yeah, you know what? Here's an example. Fucking Yuketsu, right? Yuketsu is an angry Twitter vegan, and the last time people got mad at him on Twitter, he was tweeting out like GIFs and images from the meat industry that are really disgusting because they're slaughtering animals. Someone like Drew, who has over 20,000 Twitter followers, because of his place in the Smite community. And I say that it's not like, oh, hi-rez gave him the Twitter followers, oh, he was granted it from the SPL. No, like, it's his, but they come from the Smite community, right? Like, he probably shouldn't do that. He probably shouldn't tweet out images of, like, animals being slaughtered. Even if that's his opinion, like, I think it is fair for hi-rez to be like, yo, dude, don't fucking do that. You can have your opinion, but, like, come on, man. So, it's just thinking about what you're saying, and I think that's fair. It's just don't be a douchebag. There is precedent for this. It's a thing in real sports, it's a thing in jobs, it's a thing in other esports like League of Legends. What about things like UG matchmaking is really shitty? That's probably fine, but you should also like if you think matchmaking is really shitty, if you think it's a real problem, tweeting about it isn't the solution. Fucking stop it. What are you doing? If you think matchmaking is really shitty, the solution is to go on Smite Guru and, like, save a bunch of games and be like, here are 40 games over the past week where, in my opinion, the matchmaking has not been up to par. And, like, bundle them up and send them to hi-rezes and emails. Email to Adam or Bart or Chris or whoever or Stu. Be like, hey, this is my impression of the matchmaking. It's negatively affecting me wanting to play the game. It's impacting my practice. It's lowering the quality of my stream. And send that shit to hi-rez and be like, that's my experience. Because that's going to do something. But tweeting, yo, matchmaking sucks. What the fuck is this game? Like, no, dude, stop it. That's not going to do anything. You're just being a jerk. Come on. Or if you're like, yo, this fucking caster, he keeps saying all this stupid shit. Like, alright, here's what you do. You go to youtube.com/SmitePro where all the games are, and you take OBS and you screen capture the game with the audio and you record it. And you record, like, taco. And you record, like, clips. Like, oh, here's this clip of, I remember this happening, of Scott Gandhi saying Frosty missed his ult when he actually hit a two-man solo ult. And here's this clip of something else. And you make that collection of clips, and instead of posting it publicly and being a douchebag, you, like, use the YouTube editor and put it together and send it to hi-rez and be like, hey man, I really don't like this guy's casting, here's why, and here's the tape that I've collected of him doing what I don't like. And even that is kind of douchey, and you could probably phrase it better, but, like, it's just, approaching it the right way. Because tweeting that isn't going to do anything. It's not. Because the guy you're talking about is not going to listen to you. Your fans are just, if they agree with you, they're going to be like, yeah, fuck this guy. And then they're just going to be toxic. Like, it's just going to make you look bad from everyone else who's like, dude, do you really have to do that? Like, that's not how you solve it. It's not. So, I just don't think it's a problem. Like, saying so you don't like some of smite casting isn't really being a douche, but no, like putting it on Twitter and being like, hey, followers, this guy sucks. Like, I don't know, I think that is being a douche, right? Like, what does that accomplish? The only thing that can possibly accomplish is people agreeing with you. Now, if you're trying to start a conversation, that's different. If you're trying to start a conversation, once again, get some clips, put them together, and post it on Reddit, or somewhere you can start a discussion. Email it to hi-rez. Like, it's just being constructive. If there is anything that this rule stops you from doing, I 100% guarantee there is a constructive way to do it that you could email to hi-rez and get something done. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. And the idea is that you should already be thinking about what you're saying, because you represent yourself, your brand, your team, the SPL. And if you're not, now there's $500 that says, hey, you should be thinking about what you're saying. So this should be a problem, because you shouldn't be acting unprofessionally anyway. And if you really want to act unprofessionally, get a private Twitter. I don't know. That's my thoughts on the SPL fine increase, censorship, and why, if anything, it's a good thing. If you agree or disagree, that's fair, but my point is just don't be a douchebag, fucking be constructive. It's not censorship, it's just stopping people from being jerks, and that's fine.